when the wife and I were dating in the late 90s in Gainesville, Florida. We both were students at the University of Florida. And, so we would go for these long walks. And she was in a dorm on the east side of campus, up against South 13th Street, Southwest 13th Street. So just on the other side of that was a little continuation of the campus, Norman Hall, where I worked. There's this huge live oak inside. So the building of Norman Hall made a little kind of a square, and there's a courtyard with this huge live oak. And we would walk in there in the middle of the night. It's dark, cool, and damp North Florida night. And live oaks are these broad, spreading things you always see like in the horror films and set in the South. You see them, the Spanish moss is hanging off of them. They're not horrific. They're beautiful and romantic things. We would sit under this live oak and just talk, and then we'd walk. We'd walk out past Norman Hall to Southwest 4th and 2nd Ave, and there was this house we always walked by with a fence that was too tall for Kimberly to see over. It was this dilapidated wooden fence, and like so much else in North Florida, I mean, the vegetation was so thick you couldn't see anywhere through the fence, even where the slats had fallen off or whatever. And unlike most fences, it was actually tall enough so I couldn't really see over. It kind of, but not really. And of course, it was always very, very dark when we walked by, because it was usually 2 in the morning. And I don't remember which one of us started it. It must have been Kimberly, because this is actually, and I think about it, it's pretty clear this is the sort of thing that she would come up with and not me. Flying giraffes. She realized there were flying giraffes behind this fence. And when I asked why their heads weren't poking up above the fence, she told me it was because they were actually flying mini giraffes. They were quite small, not tiny, but maybe like 6 feet or approaching my height. But compared to a normal giraffe, quite many. When I asked then why, and by the way, this progressed over a long time. I guarded these questions to ask when we walked by again. I asked why the giraffes didn't simply fly away or fly out. We could see them, because she had suggested that they weren't exactly happy to be behind this fence. She said that their wings were clipped, that there were these tragic flying mini giraffes stuck behind this fence. And they were cute and they were adorable and they weren't miserable, but if their wings were grown out, they would fly out and they would leave. And it became a weird thing for us. Like, it was just the house with flying giraffes. She would feed the giraffes. See, when I started this video, I didn't remember this. She would pluck leaves off the branches, and we would talk, and we'd hang out there, and she would stuff leaves between the holes in the slats so that the giraffes could have a little snack. We married a year or two after that. We married in the year 2000, in May, on May the 13th. And sometime several years ago, I started making these drawings. I didn't start making these drawings. I started asking artists that I knew to create these works of art for our anniversary, to represent us, our family, our children, whatever it might be. There was one where the artist put into, like, he did these silhouettes of each of us. I think there were 6 of us at the time, 4 children, 2 adults. And there was an object inside. There was a silhouette, but inside the head of each person was another silhouette of a thing that kind of defined who they were. There was a drawing of all of us. Um, Me with a pipe, Ward dressed as a pirate with a sword, just us. And then blood just kind of pouring down onto us, baptizing us. So the blood of Christ pouring first onto me and then onto everyone else. We've had some cool artwork come out of that series. And I've enjoyed them all. One of my favorite is actually one of the simplest in execution. This piece of art that a guy named Andy Finkel did for us. It's just a little line drawing. It's actually currently at the header on my blog, Joffrey the Giant. It's a field of stars, and there are 7 mini giraffes drawn on it, winged mini giraffes. There are 5 mini giraffes of different sizes kind of surrounding the field, and right in the middle of the field with a little tender heart above them are 2 flying mini giraffes with their necks entwined, gazing into each other's eyes lovingly. One giraffe, this guy, much larger than the other giraffe, and their necks form a little kind of vaguely heart-shaped thing, and it's all very sweet and romantic. And underneath these 2 main giraffes there is a Latin motto, which is, I believe, the motto of the Royal Air Force. Per ardua ad astra. Through hardships to the stars. So the giraffes are there in a field of stars. I really like that piece, even though it's just a little cartoon, because it reminds me that we've gone through a lot of hard times, but there's been a lot of glory, and there's a lot of glory to come. And it was all there. It was already there. Looking back now, I see in the girl. Looking back now, to that moment, I see, in that girl, because she was a girl. She was that person already. She's grown, she's matured, she's blossomed. Not only have I learned more about her, and so reveal some complexities, but she has become a more complicated, developed, matured person. She's not just a sapling anymore. That one was an oak. But it's amazing to look back and see that she was the same person, that person. I am about to finish this video, no fear. See, she's the same person who makes this marriage such a blessed thing, and it's hard to imagine that 17-year-old was that. She was. I met her when she was 17, and these stories, she was already mature, 19. So yeah, that's the flying giraffes. Combine so many things. Then the nostalgia of a youth that has passed by, but it's such a direct connection to how we are today. And I'm not sure I could verbalize very convincingly why I think of myself as a flying mini giraffe. Wings unclipped, by the way, because we are in the stars. Because I wasn't part of Kimberly's narrative, but somehow we've become these little flying giraffes with little flying giraffes or giraffe children, and it just all seems to make perfect sense. Okay, so yeah, that's the video about this piece of art and my wife and how amazing she is. Peace be upon you.